As you progress in an eastward direction from the Gulf of Paria, you will happen upon Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago, a city ripe with sights and sounds that in a unique sense defines the West Indies. Trinidad and Tobago has given birth to soca music, a genre that is yet to be discovered by the world's masses. However, the pace at which it is growing would suggest that my last statement may be short-lived. The genre, which was developed in the late 1970s by the late Ras Shorty Eye, merges East Indian tassa drums with African congos and other percussion and melodic elements from several cultures. Sonically, the sound is a true representation of the country itself. Like all other genres of music, it has evolved and spread over the past 4 decades. One thing that has driven the rapid popularity of the genre is strategic and creative marketing. From brightly colored music videos to PR campaigns and deliberately timed festivals on every continent, save for Antarctica, it is evident that the machine behind soca music is working, and working well. One of the chief architects in spreading the creed of soca is Adanna Asson. Adanna is the CEO of Creativa Media PR, arguably one of the most powerful entities in promoting and shaping the careers of some of the artists in the upper echelon of the genre. I sat with Adanna on the balcony of a guest house on the island of Anguilla. It was the morning after an electrifying concert that featured several soca artists. She had every reason to cancel because of exhaustion. However, being the consummate professional, she greeted me with a smile and was eager to tell her story. I was eager to hear. I am Crispin Brooks, and this is Planet 30. Tell us your journey. Where did it start?
Okay, so I think at some points of my life, like I wasn't very certain about what I wanted to do. I know I wanted to do something great, and I know that I wanted to affect and influence something or someone's, but I just wasn't sure what that was. So it took me a little time to kind of find myself and figure out exactly where I wanted to go. The thing is, as a child, I was always very talkative, extra talkative. I was always the one that everybody would have to say, like, yo, shut up, you know? We're watching TV, you can shut up. I was always very emotional, you know? And as I grew up, I realized that, you know, the things that people used to kind of complain about or make fun of, you know, are really my strong points. So fast passing secondary school and still trying to figure out myself. I remember one day I said, oh, you know, I think I would really be good at like PR, you know, because I speak well, and I had this whole idea of, you know, wanting to start like my own print magazine. And at that point in time, like, I mean, I had no money, and I told my dad this big dream, and he was like, I'll give you some money. Until we started to do research and realize, like, yo, this is going to be very expensive if you don't have like ads being sold or sponsors or whatever. So, you know, that passed. I remember having a conversation with somebody who's a very dear friend of mine now. She lives in New York. Her name is Natasha Andrews, and at that point in time, her and her then husband had a management company and management and music production called Mastermind Productions. And I met her because at that point in time she was managing one of my cousins who lived in New York who sang soca. And I told her this crazy idea, and she was like, oh, you know, well, if you want to do PR, I could let you, you know, work with the artists that come through our doors. And I'd never written a press release before, and I had all these ideas, and I think I was really, really great in my mind. And she gave me my first press release to write, and she struck down the entire release just based on her experience. And she said, well, you know, I think that you could do this better, you should change this, you could do that. And she really gave me a lot of constructive criticism, and after doing it once, twice, 3 times, you know, it's kind of like learning how to ride a bike. And yeah, that kind of exploded into me then, you know, being referred by her and her then husband to, everybody that came through their doors. So, at that point in time, it could have been anyone, because they were working with Kerwin and Bungie and all of the other people, it could have been anyone. I was just there just waiting. I always had like a regular job, I was doing whatever 8 to 4, trying to find myself, and during that time I said, you know what, I want to go to school. And I really just want to get the foundation. I want to learn the fundamentals. So I did my associate degree in journalism and PR. And, while everything else was going on and I'm changing jobs and trying to find myself, I was still writing press releases and figuring out, where I wanted to be in the sphere of things. And I remember when my first press release was published in a newspaper or something, and Natasha told me, she was like, oh, you should Google yourself. And I Googled myself and I saw my name pop up and I was like, damn, you're on the shit, you're on the internet, because the internet was like coming at that point in time, was like real, very very popular. This was in the early 2000s ish, so like 2006, 7, somewhere around there, and I was very young as well. I finished secondary school at 16, and then I was like in my first job maybe somewhere around 17, and then just kind of trying to figure out myself 18, 19. So that's ideally what happened. And then just based on writing and referrals and Natasha referring me, I absolutely tell people like she's my mentor, but she's also like one of my very dear friends. Like she's one of my best friends. I can go to her for anything. So her referring me and saying, hey, I really believe in Adanna. I kind of started to just look for more people, and I started to get my work published and, kind of try to figure out how to maneuver through, not working formally in PR or communications, because I had like random jobs. So like I worked in the Ministry of Education, and then I worked in a debt collection, and then I worked in a oil and rigging company, and I worked immigration, and I've settled somewhere like before I branched off into like being self-employed. I'm all over the place with this, and then I reached my sensible place of employment, so as far as like being involved in music and PR and all of that, when I worked at the Copyright Music Organization of Trinidad and Tobago, CAT, as the communications officer. And that was the most sensible job that I had as far as my qualifications were concerned, because I went ahead and I did my bachelor's in media and communication at a school in Trinidad, a college in Trinidad, but it was through the University of Greenwich. So I had my bachelor's from there. And then it's just in between, doing like random stuff, and that's a long answer for, your question.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Where it started,
So growing up in Trinidad, how did growing up in Trinidad inform your creative process?
Oh, I think it had everything to do with it. I feel as though like if I lived anywhere else, even the thoughts as an adult, living somewhere else is a little petrifying, if that makes sense. I think we all have our fears, and then picking up and going somewhere else and starting over completely from scratch is terrifying for me. But I do believe that, the way that I grew up, like I grew up in a house where my father is very, very creative. Not to say that he's in music or anything like that, but he is a creative. So he's a masked man, and not pretty bikini and feathers masked man, but he plays like pretty Indian, like authentic Indian mask. And he's been doing it for like a number of years. So I grew up seeing him like going to the mask camp or building masks at home, fluffing feathers, cutting out diamond tees, cutting out patterns to put on his clothes, going down to the mask camp and, building masks for other masqueraders. He also loves pan. So every pan that beat literally any part of Trinidad, he's always there with his crew. And then I grew up in a house with him just playing all types of music, a lot of vintage calypso and a lot of old soca, and I remember having a lot of cassette players and records, and especially in the car, he would put a cassette on, and when we in that car on whatever journey and a calypso playing, he would be like, listen to the words, you know. You understand what he mean by this? I mean, a lot of these, some of the calypsos were very smutty, so he couldn't explain everything.
Right.
But there was some that he would say, you know, Adanna, like, because my dad and I, we're very, very close. So I spent a lot of time in the car with him alone, if that makes sense. And he would say, listen to this. So I became very fascinated with the art of storytelling, if that makes sense. And I think that kind of opened up my mind to, wow, there's this world of a whole lot of amazing people who have great voices or who are very, very brave, and they could share the story. And I feel as though, like, in my mind, I always subconsciously wanted to be part of that, not necessarily being a star or going on stage or whatever. But yeah, and then I had a little stint with singing calypso. It wasn't really my love. And I played pan for a little while, tenor. And all of that just kind of, you know,
mishmashed
made me appreciate where I'm from, you know, so that now when you go other places, it's kind of like, damn, we have something special at home, you know?
Nice. With other more lucrative genres out there, why soca? In terms of PR,
why not soca? The thing is, like, I'm very open to working with other genres, you know. I just ended up in soca because of where my journey started, you know. So it was, as I said, explaining with Natasha Andrews and the whole mastermind where I started. They were doing soca. They were also doing soca parang, you know. So that's, I started off there. So I made my name. When I you know, figured out how to get into the door, it was just in that niche. But I am very open to, like, working on other genres, but I feel as though I'm based in Trinidad, so of course with everything you have some constraints, you know. So I still have to kind of figure out my ways to maneuver through dealing with other genres and dealing with other cultures as well. It's a whole different thing. Like, you can't be a publicist dealing with reggae and then you don't know, you know, all the ins and outs as far as the industry is concerned. Who to deal with in Jamaica about XYZ. Alright, who you have to bribe? We have to do. I mean, I just, because we're talking about a music industry where, you know, there's so many unspoken rules. There's so many
realities.
There are a lot of gatekeepers.
Payola.
You know, there's a lot of expectations for payola, and as a publicist, that's something that I absolutely do not believe in. You know, I believe, like, if you're good, you're good. You know, and you know, if you find the right strategies and the correct approaches, somebody is going to pay attention. It may take you a little longer, but I feel as though when people open up their eyes, the interactions will be way more genuine, and the responses will be way more genuine than paying somebody. You know?
Right.
So that's really why. It's not why soca or why not soca, you know. And I love trying to add my influence in the genre, because I know what we have here. You know, sometimes I listen to music outside of our region, and I would hear hints of soca. You know, you listen to the Biebers and the Drakes, and you hear and you sing, you know, and you might hear a little steel pan. I remember listening, I think, to one of Kodak Black's songs, and it's like heavy, this heavy steel pan there, you know, and nobody is saying where it comes from, you know, like they're calling it all kind of shit, tropical house, exactly, and nobody is saying where it comes from. They're not giving credit when they mess around with dancehall or reggae, you know, they give it that respect, you know, they give it. And I mean, I no disrespect to anyone. I mean, Jamaica has done a good job as well with their entertainment tourism. I give them that, you know. But then why not? You know, I know what we have here. I know. I look at that Calypso Rose and I seeing
Coachella.
You know, I'm seeing Coachella, and she's touring all through Europe at her age, and the way that, you know, a lot of these people in the French markets don't even understand what she's saying, but there's something special, there's something intangible that they feel as though they still want to try to hold on to, even though they can't, you know. So yeah, that's my answer.
What was your aha moment when you realized that this PR thing could actually work?
I did. I remember getting, I don't know, what was my aha moment? Okay, I always say the first time I got paid for my service, I realized that, okay, you're doing something that's worth doing. And it wasn't about the money, it was about the fact that people respected what you did and saw that it was worth something that they should pay for. And I know that's a broad answer, but that's really it, you know. Another aha moment for me probably happened like a couple of years ago, maybe it was like 3 years ago, when I was working because I was made redundant, and then, you know, because they needed to merge my department with another department. And I was told, well, you know, you should reapply. I know that I would have gotten back the job, but being home for like 2 months, waiting to see an ad be placed, and, you know, to figure out that, oh, well, maybe 100 other people are going to apply and they're still going to have to compete with people. And just being in that space at home made me realize, no, I think you should try something on your own. And I remember going to Jamaica with Patrice, and like something happened at the show, and I was driving home. This is one of those trips where you went to Jamaica the day before, and then you literally went and do the gig and came back home the day after. So I parked my car in the airport. I was driving home like real beaten up myself because like, I can't remember what happened, but something happened. And I got home and went up into my bedroom. I live with my parents still. And my mom, I saw a postcard. I saw an envelope on the bed addressed to me. And when I looked at it, I knew it was my mom's handwriting. So I opened up the envelope, and there was a postcard. And in the postcard, I can't remember the exact words, but it was basically her saying that, you know, she's very proud of me and to follow my dreams and whatever the case may be. And she placed money in the postcard. And I'm not talking about like thousands of dollars. I swear to you, maybe it was like a couple hundreds, right? Maybe like $500 or so, TT. And she put it in the envelope, and I just started to cry because whatever happened in Jamaica just kind of had me like thinking like, oh no, you know, of course things could throw you off. And I remember just crying, and that endorsement from her, because my mother is a very to the book kind of person. You need to have a good government job, you need to go and study, you need to do this, you need to do that. So having her say, okay, I understand this and I support you, that also was an aha moment, even though it's not linked to career wise, but emotionally that was something. So yeah, I gave it two.
In one of your interviews, you said that creative PR, or you as a PR professional, you're very different and you're very unique.
So unconventional.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I feel like people who came up in the ranks of working in like a PR agency or studying communication, for the most part, when they think about it, it's like very corporate conservative. You know, it's very difficult for me to do like a regime, if that makes sense. And maybe that's a creative thing, but I can't do the shirt and tie, the suit every day, you must be here for 8 hours and sit here and do this. And even the way that I approach writing a release, or the way that I send it out, or the way that I might pitch something, I've heard like little murmurs, you know, like, who she feels she is, you know? Who she feels she is, this little girl. You know, I mean, and I respect, because of course, you know, there are those that came before us, and they had to find their way to make sense. And I have to find my way to make sense too. And I'm dealing with an industry that what you do for corporate is not going to work, you know, or it may not work, or you have to adapt, or you have to adjust. So I always tell people that I'm very unconventional and out of the box, and I'm very much frowned upon, and I'm perfectly fine with that.
You seem to merge PR with management. Like you kind of blur the lines there.
It's very blurred.
How did that happen, or was that part of the plan?
No, it was never part of the plan. What happened is that, you see, somewhere earlier I explained to you that I'm very emotional, right? So there are people that you can pay for a service, and you get nothing from them as far as emotions is concerned, because I mean it's a job, right? And I mean, we all say, you know, mix business and pleasure. Okay, fine. But I have to actually be all in with a project, or feel a certain way about a client, or feel a certain way about a song, to even be able to work. If somebody sends me a song, I'll be like, oh, I like I need a press release for the song, and the song is terrible. I can't write for days. I'm trying to figure out, okay, well, what should I tell people about this? And I'm okay, I'm saying to myself, boy, if I don't even believe in it, I can't even start to convince somebody else that it's worth giving a shot, so I am very so I have to like my song real bad. I have to like things about it. I have to like a project. I have to like a song in order for me to.
It's almost a spiritual connection,
right?
That
Correct.
has to be had.
There are times when I would be in my bed and jump up, so and then just start to write. So so explaining that is to tell you that like the clients who I've had for a very long time, so like Kerwin Bois, he is like somebody who I have been working with for a very long time, but he's also one of my dearest friends. I know his family, I know his children, I know his brother, I know his some of his closest friends. I would like we talk about things. If I having a hard day or if something happens, I can pick up the phone and call him, because over time we evolved into being friends. And if we take the business out of it, we'll still be friends. And I've been with him maybe like about 8 years or almost 9 years or so. Sounds like very long. I'm young, but and with Patrice as well, it's the same thing. I met her through Kerwin, and it started off like I need a bio, and I need a press release. Could you come, because I want to do this, these are my plans. And then over the years it evolved into, okay, well, I want some advice on this. I had nothing to do with PR, just based on my personality, and then it just kind of evolved into something bigger. Do I manage anyone? No, like I really don't. We don't use titles. Even in Patrice's life, we don't use titles. So people just know, well, if you need this, you can talk to Adanna, and if you ask her, she'll be like, talk to Adanna. Yeah, a representative. But we don't brag and boast about titles. We just know what it is, People have approached me to manage them, and it's just kind of like, I don't know, maybe later on, but sometimes people kind of use a measuring stick and they watch, well, Adanna is working for this person who's very popular, and I want exactly this,
right.
And I can't give everybody exactly that. When you're working, you're giving away pieces of yourself too. So it's kind of like a songwriter. When I write a song for somebody, be like, oh, well, I gave piece of me. I feel like when I work for people, it might sound so random and weird, and people might listen to this and be like, the skill is a weirdo. But I feel as though, what I do, I give away pieces of myself because I love what I do so much. So that's really how the lines got blurred, and maybe, some people might be like, she making a mistake. But it doesn't happen with everyone. I have clients. I have people who I have like real good relationships with, and they ask me, Dana, you can work with me with on this project, and I'll be like, nah, I can't do that, because I already know we're gonna have problems. Like, you're my friend.
Just because of personality clashes and stuff.
You're my friend. We're gonna have problems. I'm not gonna do that. And then I have people who I'm very good friends with, and they say, Dana, and based on their personality, like, yeah, done. So. Yeah,
well, that was my next question. Who are some of your clients?
I work with Kerwin, Bois, Patrice Roberts, Pretty. I've done work for Farmer Nappy. I've done some work for Nadia. She's a darling. I've done work for Marvey from Barbados.
Yeah.
Ricky T. Done some work for Lava Man. And still doing work for Lava Man is always a situation where if they need something, is whatever. Then I do events sometimes. So I was working on this project in Trinidad. I did it for I think like 3 years, called Decibel. I do Great Fat Weekend in Tobago, which is a 5-day event. So I do like the artist liaison, PR, event liaison kind of situation. And I know I'm forgetting people. Oh, there's an amazing young lady from Tobago, amazing vocalist. Her name is Adanna.
Yeah.
So I do work with her as well. There's another young lady who is coming up. I've done work with her, Melly Rose.
Is Loop TT one of your go-to spots?
Oh, Loop TT Laura is my girl.
Okay, no. Because I'm just realizing that a lot of the artists you call it Like Adanna, for example, the first person I saw her was with TT.
Yeah. So
So it's like there must be some relationship.
yeah. Well, I mean, TT is when we think about like entertainment related stuff.
Oh, OMG,
to go on-
TT's are.
Yeah, to go and well, OMG. But we don't have much like entertainment websites and stuff anyway. So I mean, of course, you're gonna go where you need to go first to get the most amount of traction before you go to like regular.
Was there an intimidation factor, either approaching artists or kind of thrusting yourself into the industry?
Yeah, always. But for some strange reason, I've never really. Now I approach artists, but in the beginning when I started, like I never really had to approach anybody. It was always based on referrals.
Right.
So somebody would say, "Oh well, talk to Adanna," or "I'll call Adanna for you." So I never really had to go and pitch to somebody. Now sometimes I would reach out to someone and be like, "Hey, I notice XYZ, and I'm a publicist, I do this, I do creative conceptualization, and I feel as though I can be of a benefit to you." They've said no, but I mean, I've heard some no's, I've heard some yeses as well. But in the beginning, I never really. Oh, I approached Kerwin, but we were friends already, and I told him, I was like, "Listen, you need a publicist, and for you and I are not exactly sure how that would look, but you have to make me do it." And I kind of bullied my way into it. But other than that, like now, as I'm looking at what I do as a business, of course, I am trying to put myself out there more and, approach people so that there can be some level of consistency in what I do as well, Because I don't have an 8 to 4 again by choice. I mean, I could resort to going back to one if I wish, but I really don't want to. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's has to make dollars and cents too. So, yeah.
Is traditional media dead?
We need it still, We need it still, but of course it's competing with, the fact that we're in a very digital sphere. I believe that it is dying, but it's not dead. And I believe that at some point in time there might be a resurgence as well, because people may become very bored with being so completely distracted all the time. It's kind of like we went from, if I'm explaining it properly, so the records was a big thing back, when I was growing up, and then it kind of was phased out by cassettes and CDs and MP3s, and then now you're seeing like there's this big, people are collecting records again, and it's a big deal. So it's almost like
you're selling
going
out.
around, you're going around in a circle. Same thing like fashion is revolving. My mother would look at me wearing something and be like, "I don't know why I didn't save my clothes that I had from like 1987. I put it underneath the bed, I could give it to you. You paying $500 for that?" So it's the same thing with, media. I feel as though even though there may be a dip in the way that people interact with newspapers or radio or whatever the case may be, it's still a it's still a necessity, because I mean they're still alive, so a lot of them still functioning. We still read the newspapers, we still listening to the radio, we still listening to news.
So you're not official unless...
Yeah. So I feel as though it's still serving the purpose. I would be like very, very hypocrite to say that it's dead, because I still resort to, reaching out to the dailies, and sending notifications to the radio stations and stuff like that. So I'll be a liar to say that it's dead.
So the soca industry obviously is small, right? Especially in the smaller islands. Yeah. A lot of people feel as if, but they know me. I don't need to do that. They know me. They know who I am.
Stop your shit.
How important is branding?
Oh my God, it's very branding. It's very, very important. Let me tell you, I was driving here, so I know Shay. I was driving, come off of the ferry from St. Martin, and I saw this big ass billboard, and I hit her up and I was like, "Yo, you have a friggin' billboard?" I've never seen anybody I've seen artists on billboards because of endorsements or whatever, but I've never seen an artist put up a billboard, advertising their services. I thought that was very brave and very, very bold, and nobody wouldn't do that in Trinidad, but I thought that was really, really impressive.
The funny thing is not even for soca.
Island. Yeah, and it's not for soca, it's for her weddings and her, the fact that she sings in the hotels and stuff like that. Yo, I was taken aback, but it is very important to brand yourself, because I feel as though what are you doing if you're only thinking about just being where you are? Like, what is your end goal? You know, you're singing music just for the island you're on. You know, what happens if, because there's always the thing where you could break through and you just don't even understand how it happens. So what happens if, you know, a record exec comes to your island and hears the song playing on the radio and they decide to seek you out? You know, are you prepared for that? What about your high resolution images? What about your bio? And it doesn't have to be anything overly lengthy, but at least something that, you know, could begin a conversation or express or explain who you are, you know, in a short read. What about those things? You know,
Luck happens when opportunity meets preparation.
well, yes, correct. You know, and a lot of people say, "Well, I'm praying for the best," but you have to prepare for it. You have to prepare for it too, right?
Yeah.
So, I always say, just yesterday I posted, a publicist posted something on Instagram, and I shared it in my stories about, yes, you need those photos, yes, you need those bios, yes, you need those. You know, like, I mean, what are you talking about? Who's telling you that you don't need it? You know, you just have to be prepared. You know, and social media has become like so demanding. You feel pressure to just be on everything, and that's the other thing. Like, you don't need to be on everything.
You don't.
You know, you don't need to be on everything. I just recently joined back Twitter just because, you know, it's part of my job to just monitor what people are saying about clients. You know, so I joined back Twitter, and I'm in love with it now. You know. But I was more of a Facebook, Instagram girl.
I think Caribbean is more Facebook.
Yeah, and Instagram.
And Instagram,
too.
of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
I still think there needs to be a central hub.
Of course, yeah. I think so too. So I have a website as a publicist, and I had to figure out, okay, well, what am I going to use it for? So I started writing industry-related blogs, you know, and just kind of putting a little bit of me in it and explaining and expressing things that are related to the industry.
Your blog is called?
It's on my website, so it's creativamediapr.com, and then I just have a tab that's for blogs, and I've talked about my journey, I've talked about, you know, finding your why, you know, I've talked about like purpose related things, I've talked about, you know, how to approach interviews, you know, a couple of things that I could just go on and read. I've shared a couple of press releases that I've written as well, but I just wanted to create a space where, you know, if an artist wants to ask a question, or before they ask the question, they can kind of skim through and be like, oh, you know, I'm kind of trying to figure out something. At least they can walk away with something, even if they don't want to engage my services immediately. At least you have an idea of maybe what you should do, you know, without giving away all the tea, because then they wouldn't need a publicist at all in their mind. But I try to share a little bit of knowledge, you know, because I feel as though knowledge is nothing if you don't share it, you know. You know, it's nothing. You just go to the grave with it, but you have to impart and you have to share in order for it to be worth anything, in my opinion.
How can artists, for those that are struggling, how can they discover their story?
Yeah, everybody has a story, you know. Like, it takes me just like a couple seconds to talk to somebody and figure out, oh, I have something here that I can sell. I mean, of course, there are some people who are just a blank slate and you have to figure out what to do. But for the most part, everyone has a story. Like, I have this friend who I went to secondary school with, and he invites me to his music workshop that he does to like speak with the students about PR and stuff. And every year I've done it for him, I think twice. Yeah, I did it for him either twice or 3 times, I can't remember. And every year I go and give the same story because there's a new cohort every year about him, because his story is so amazing. So we were in the same secondary, we went to the same secondary school, same class. It wasn't a music class, and he loved music. So every free period, every lunchtime, every after school, he used to go down to the music room, learn how to read music, play the piano, play pan. He started arranging, segue into going, studying. He went overseas, went to New York, he studied music, he came back, he started up his business. He's a secondary school music teacher. He's a thriving business. He did not go to school for music when he started. And I always used to be like, oh my God, he's such a weirdo. What he always doing in the music room? I used to play steel pan in secondary school, so every time I go down there, he's there arranging. I say, no, you hit this wrong, or he's playing the piano and the beat going one way and he's off beat. And I'm like, what is he doing? And then I was like, wow.
Passion.
When I was talking to him the other day, and I was like, wow. Like, every time I go to his class, I always give the same story. And everybody has a story, you know. It's just finding yourself and not trying to be a carbon copy of somebody else, you know. I feel as though like we're all unique, flaws and all. We all have something that somebody else doesn't have, you know, and we all could do something a little differently. If you're aware, then own your awareness. If you know, like whatever you have, sometimes we look at things and we think that they're all flaws. When sometimes we just don't realize that they're blessings.
What do you say to the artist that says, I can't afford PR?
Okay. Can't force it to afford it, and I don't want to send it to rubber bank. You know, but like, okay. You know, I would tell them, you know, I hope that you can find a way legally or the time, or I hope that you do recognize at some point in time that even if you're trying to get away from it now, you're going to have to revert back to it at some point in time.
Right.
You know, you're going to reach a juncture where you can't do it for yourself. The approaches that you're using right now are not working for you, and then you just need somebody to just come in and third man it for you, or in this case, third woman it for you. So I'll be like, okay, I understand. I mean, it's a hard industry and not everybody has money, you know, so I understand.
What's next in media?
What's next in media?
Yeah, what's the next big thing? Like, a couple of years ago, we all thought Vine was going to be, okay, if you're not on Vine,
Yeah.
you're not anything. And then Instagram just shut them down with the 6-second stories, and then boom, Instagram was it.
I don't know. I have not noticed.
Is it TikTok? Is it?
Because I've not dabbled on those. And then you see, like, sometimes, like, in our region, you know, we kind of catch on late.
Yeah.
Exactly, because, I mean, Facebook was popular in the college market. You know, when a friend sent me an invite to join, you know, and I was on there for a while before it became popular and all these millions or billions or how many other people are on it. I do not have the answer for that question, but you know what? I'm going to look. Because I don't know. I probably might need to talk to, like, my niece. I have a 13-year-old niece who lives in Texas, and I probably need to ask her, like, yo, what are your friends using now? To see if, you know, if maybe, because she's in the U.S., so I think I'll have to talk to my niece.
Well, what's next for Adanna?
Yeah. I just want to be happy, man. I want to travel the world. I want to impart knowledge. I want to share. I want to teach people. I also want to just find my space, you know. I feel as though, like, I've done some good things, but I want to do great things, you know. I want to create a bridge that could take people who are looking to do great things to that next place, you know. And that, I know that it sounds so broad, but that's the only way that I can explain it. I don't want to say, like, I want to take Soca global, because everybody's saying that, right? And it's a dream of everybody, but if I could create a bridge that could just help someone to go from one place to the other, then I think I'm happy. So I want to continue doing that. I want to travel. I want to impart knowledge. I really have been toying with the ideas of, like, going to a lot of the OECS countries, what we call smaller islands.
Doing seminars
and workshops and stuff.
Needed.
So it's something that I definitely want to start looking into and figuring out who to partner with, you know, so that I can get that off of the ground and just share. You know, sometimes people have a question and they have no idea who to ask. You know, I feel like I've done a bit of work and I've made a couple mistakes and I'm still making mistakes and I'm still learning, and I feel like I could share. I'm not a know-it-all. You know, anybody who knows me would say, like, if they ask me something and I don't know, I would tell you I don't know, but give me 2 days and I'll find out.
Tell me an artist outside of Soca. Any artist that you'd like to work with.
Oh my God, it's crazy, right? So in dancehall, Vybz Kartel, as shocked as people might be, like my friends, Vybz Kartel, Bounty Killer. Just because, like, with Bounty, people think that he's so rough and mean, you know. Yeah, cartel. Just because it's cartel. He's locked up and he's still, you know.
Ruling the world.
That's right. In the African market, I love Yummy, Burna Boy. Nobody could leave out Davido from the equation either. Tiwa Savage. In the US market, even though he's not doing music, but he's still in entertainment, Will Smith. Just because you always see him imparting knowledge, like he does so much different things, film and all his other businesses. That's off the top of my head, That's off the top of my head.
That's cool.
Thank you.
I am Crispin Brooks, and this is Planet 30. Thank you for listening to this episode of Planet 30. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at OnPlanet30. Like us on Facebook.com/Planet30. Our email address is onplanet30@gmail.com. That's ONPLANETTHIRTY@gmail.com. For more information about Planet 30, visit our website, planet30.com. That's PLANETTHIRTY.com.